Hello all, welcome back to my channel for another off-the-cuff watch review. Very unprofessional off-the-cuff watch review. As usual, I've got a slightly less common watch here from a micro brand. You could call them, probably not a micro brand anymore, Dan Henry. My purpose of these videos is just to give people the chance to see watches such as this that maybe don't have quite as many reviews. This is a slightly older one than some of my recent reviews. Before I start, watch wrist check. Got the Baltic Aquascape GMT. I put the orange on in honor of this. The orange Dan Henry 1970 limited edition. So as I said, a little bit older, a couple of years ago this came out. I believe this model actually is discontinued. They had originally this release, they had this model and they had a grey version where that orange circle is in grey. Instead, both of them have been discontinued. They've got these newer versions. I wonder if I can show you actually. Newer versions now look like, here we go, like these guys. But these are slightly more sought after. The original layout, and I really like this one in particular. It's my favourite of these 1970s. So let's get into it. So Dan Henry is he was a world famous watch collector. He has thousands and thousands of watches. Then started his own brand a few years ago, where he essentially builds watches that are homages to whole eras, whole genres of watches, you could say, each with their own date. So this is the 1970, and it is obviously a throwback to the compressor watch style dive watches of the 1970s. I'm a big fan of this watch, the way it looks. I'm making this video today though because it is about to be sold, which I'm quite sad about, and also quite happy. I've had quite a lot of hassle with this watch, as we will get into. So let's just do some general specifications. So this is the 40mm version. They also have a 44, let me double check. A 44mm, yeah, which to me is quite large. So 40mm version is pretty perfect for my 6 3/4, 7-inch-ish wrist. It is 14.8mm thick, 45.7 lug to lug, 22mm lugs, and then you also have the option of this 3 o'clock date window, or you can have it without. Comes on this tropic rubber strap. It's actually very nicely made. Got this sort of hash pattern the whole way down it. The actual holes that you use for the bracelet, for the strap, integrate into the design on this tropic strap, so I like that a lot. And on the back, this keeps your wrist relatively cool, so it's quite, I'm not at all a rubber strap kind of guy. Probably part of the reason this watch is going, but it is quite a nice rubber strap, I will say, for a rubber strap. Signed buckle, even the keeper has that same pattern on. We'll mention that for a second in the Moats Niggles. And then this is a compressor style dive watch, so it's got 200 meters water resistance. But it's compressor style, so the original compressor dive watches, essentially these crowns would, under pressure, would seal shut. This isn't in fact a real compressor, it's only meant to look like a compressor, but has 200 meters nonetheless, so you could go diving with it. You probably wouldn't. Screw down crown down here. It's at 4 o'clock. Obviously pull out once. It's hacking and hand winding, I believe. Yeah. Wind it in the first position, date in the second, time in the third. Hacking and hacking obviously means stopping the second hands, for those who don't know. And then this inner rotating bezel, dive time bezel, bi-directional on this model, on this version, on this piece in particular. Really nice action to it. Very crisp, so I like that a lot. Case of stainless steel, 316L. What else haven't we mentioned yet? Obviously the case back, we'll get on to now. really nice, really cool. One of the things this watch is well known for amongst enthusiasts is this really deeply engraved, what do they call it? Let me find the word. It's up here. A scaftopus, a 3D scaftopus apparently. Around the outside we've got stainless steel automatic, 200 meters, 660 feet. Dan Henry, 1970, and limited edition. And this is number 381 of 1970. So overall, aesthetically at least, the finishing's decent, it's good. Nice brushing, straight brushing. Got this chamfered edge. Yeah, finishing's fine. Nothing extremely special, but fine. The finishing on that engraving itself is amazing. But yeah, overall, that's the first look at it. I haven't mentioned the crystal, and that's because I'm going to get onto the crystal as one of my moans and niggles. I should mention it has a Seiko caliber NH35, 24 joule, 41 hour power reserve. You know, a classic, reliable movement. Keep going for years. So overall, aesthetically, very pretty watch. Interesting, stylish, funky. And you know, I'm surprised I'm come to selling it, but I am selling it because I never wear it. And there's a few reasons for that. Most of them are personal, really. So let's just get into the moans and niggles. Firstly, I'll come to this crystal. So this is a sapphire coated mineral crystal. Now, I'm no expert, but I don't really understand what that means. And I'm not alone in saying that. I've heard TGV talk about it and Mark from Long Island Watch. What is a sapphire coated mineral crystal? You're attaching sapphire glass to the front of a mineral glass? I don't know, someone explain that to me, but to me that sounds harder to do than just using a sapphire crystal. And I mention this because I haven't worn this watch an awful lot, but I had scratched the first crystal I had in this. I scratched it quite early on. You know, with this big bulbous compressor style watch, that crystal is going to get a lot of damage, you know, a lot of impacts. It's the highest point on the watch. So I really think that should have been a sapphire. Obviously that would have pushed the price up, but I just think for this style of watch, it makes a lot more sense because, you know, a crystal like this that can get scratched easily, or relatively easy, it's a bit of a shame, you know. It would stop me ever wearing this scuba diving as a scuba diver that I am. I've never worn this scuba diving and I never would because it would just get banged up. It's got blue anti-reflective coating in there, which is nice enough. I'm not really a fan of coloured anti-reflective coating, I've got to be honest. I think it cheapens a watch a little bit, so I'd prefer clear, but it's nice enough. But my biggest issue with this crystal, story time here, when I was living in America last year, I had left this on the side in the bathroom as I was in bed, and I heard a bang in the bathroom. I went back in, and the crystal had exploded outwards, and there was still crystal around the outside, but the centre had exploded outwards. I think maybe to do with the temperature change on the cold surface in the bathroom or something, but yeah, very bizarre. However, I contacted Dan Henry. I hadn't actually bought this from them, I bought this secondhand. I contacted Dan Henry, I told them about it. It was out of warranty, and they gave me two options. I can either send it to them and they'll fix it for a price, or they could send me a new case for free. And I know my way around watches to a very basic level, so I was happy to, you know, take the movement out and put it in a new case. I had no problem at all, so that was fantastic. I'm sure they fixed that in their newer versions of this watch, but apparently I'm not alone. Looking around forums, apparently that is a slightly, I wouldn't say common, but a few people have had that issue, exploding watches. Very strange. I would say also the bezel action in my original case was pretty dreadful. When I actually took the movement out, I could see what it was, and it was just that the two cogs, the cog that's here and the cog that's here, didn't align or didn't make contact unless the watch was flat like this. If I ever had the watch like this and I did this, the bezel action was terrible. But in here, good as anything. And then my only other potential complaint is this cross-hatched pattern on the buckle. On the inside, it can be a little uncomfortable. It's quite sort of, you know, severe. But other than that, I should mention the rubber tapes down. Comes with this as well. When the watch comes, I do like, you know, packaging in general doesn't bother me much, but I really like accessories. You know, they give me free stuff. I've used this an awful lot. I'm actually going to keep it now that I'm selling the watch. I'm not selling the watch with this because I'm going to keep hold of it. Don't think it's real leather, but it looks and feels close enough. But yeah, that's the Dan Henry 1970 40mm. The only other thing I haven't mentioned is the loom. Will I bother? I'm not going to bother showing you, but take it from me, it's pretty crap. Obviously those yellowed dials, indices even, probably don't help. Sort of Faubourtine look to them, even though it looks fantastic with the orange. But yeah, the loom's not great, but I don't think anyone was expecting great loom, you know. Get to Seiko if you really want great loom. The loom isn't great. Technically it's a tool watch this, but you know, with that crystal, the lack of loom, yeah, I wouldn't call it a tool watch myself. So that's the Dan Henry 1970. So as I said, a really quick review because I'm selling it. I just thought there's only a few reviews out there of this model, and I really like the way it looks, and I'm sad to see it go. It's you know, it's a very nice part of my watch collection, but it's been sold. Okay guys, thanks for listening, thanks for watching. I'll come back with more reviews of a few micro brand watches that I've got in my collection. I'll see you next time. Thanks a lot.